This Choircast podcast is brought to you by The Joy of Letting Go by Kevin Sweeney. When one of the great living mystics, Richard Rohr, writes, all great spirituality is somehow about letting go. Do we just skim by it and look for the next great quote? Or do we allow this truth to utterly change our relationship with God, humanity, and reality itself? And if we accept letting go as the key to transformation, the question becomes how? How is each life-altering step of the spiritual journey somehow about letting go? Well, my new book, The Joy of Letting Go, is the answer to that question.
Western Christianity has spent the last 2,000 years telling everyone they're separated from God.
This is Not Church with John and Nat Turney and Bethany Shea.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Nat. I'm here with my brother, John. Say hi, John.
Hi, John.
And as always, the peanut butter to our jelly, the waffle cone to our ice cream scoops. I'm running out of everything's terrible. Bethany, welcome. We're glad to see you. Say hi, Bethany.
Hi, friends. Good to see you guys.
She's so contrarian. She won't do it. She's like, I think James Dobson would have something to say about your strong will.
Well, probably would.
Right now it's going to sound like, I don't know what it's going to sound like, but.
You're like,
oh God, there's gays here. What are we going to do? Y'all should have been spanked as children.
Wait, are we sure he's up there?
No, I don't. I'm thinking if there isn't up here or down here and it has anything to do with the good you did or didn't do, then no. I don't know what I feel about that anymore. But aside from all that, this is the podcast, by the way, that we call This Is Not Church. And if you can't tell by now, we call it that because this sure as hell ain't church. Although for some people, maybe this is closer to church than what they normally get. So you will hear the name of Jesus. I hope it won't be spoken in vain. But Jesus, some stuff has just been going on. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some stuff that's happening. And we are here today. I am so excited to talk to Laci Bean, the wonderful, wonderful woman that she is, the podcaster. She has a podcast called Deadly Faith, right?
Yes, yeah.
Which is, we should talk about a little bit too.
Oh, yeah.
But she and I actually made our acquaintances when we attended or actually participated in a conference in Nashville.
Yes.
3 years ago now? 2 years ago? I don't know. It's been a while.
It's been 3 years. I think it's been 3 years.
So we were with Keith Giles and a bunch of choir folks, and we were all, it was just a cool little get together and hang out. And we had some interesting people do presentations. We had, I'm still trying to reconnect with Promise. But she, I think she fucked off to Europe.
She did. Fuck it here, guys.
By the way, good for her. But she gave me her number about a year and a half ago, and we couldn't quite make a connection because she was moving at that time. And I've been calling her number. I'm like, I don't know why she's not answering or responding. I'm like, oh, because she's not in the country.
No, she's not.
I do love that she's gone back to using her name. Because
I do too.
I don't know how much. Do you watch much of her? Like, I know she's got her TikTok stuff. Obviously, Eve was framed, but she's been very prominently featured lately.
Yeah.
On YouTube, on the line with guys like Matt Dillahunty and all these. So she has a couple different things where she hosts call-in shows and talks about atheism and stuff like that. Anyway, she's fantastic.
Yeah. I love that she uses her name because
I do too.
I don't think a lot of people know her connection to evangelicalism per se, like how prominent her dad is and stuff. And so like using her name and having that out there is like, ooh, brave girl.
Yeah, her dad is a very, very prominent right-wing. Well, how would you? I mean, evangelical, but not just that. More like in the vein of like Mike Bickle and like those prophetic kind of end times guys.
He has the whole like Seven Mountains mandate theory, philosophy, kind of belief system going on. And he goes to churches and preaches on it all the time. He actually came to my church, the last church I was at. And
really?
That's how I met him. Yeah. Yeah. And then when I realized who she was and who she was related to, I was like, holy shit. Yeah.
So for some reason, Laci and I, we met at this conference and we just clicked. And then my wife was there and they clicked. And it was like, so we pretty much hung out the whole time.
Yes.
Went and had Nashville hot chicken together. That was great. And then we found out, we didn't even know until we started talking that she was from and I had lived in the same town.
Exactly.
And had bounced around in the same ministries and had this. So we trauma bonded over stuff that we had experienced. And then the reason we're here today is another deep trauma connection for us. So I'm watching TV one day, and I had seen season 1 of Shiny Happy People, and it was all about the Duggars. I don't have much connection to the Duggars. By the time they were kind of on the scene, I was already kind of like, this whole evangelical thing can kiss my ass. I'm done with this. So I paid attention to it just out of interest, like I saw what they, but I was never involved in it. Season 2 comes out. I'm like, oh, what's this one going to be about? And lo and frickin' behold, it's about teen mania. And I'm like, that is something. I'm like, oh, so my wife and I sit down Sunday afternoon, and we're gonna watch a little bit of this documentary. And in the intro to the documentary, there's a brief little video clip, and it's Laci saying something along the lines of, like, we're just getting started, or this is just the beginning.
This is the tip of the iceberg.
This is the tip of the iceberg. And I paused and I went, what the hell?
You know what? Same reaction. I'm sitting down to dinner. It came out that day. Yeah, I think it was that day it came out. And we're sitting down to dinner. It's all quiet. And I get a text from my kid's therapist. And it just says, hey, did you know that you're in the intro to season 2 of Shiny Happy People? And I went, what the hell? I jump up from dinner. My husband's like, what's going on? And I was like, hold on. So I put it on the TV. We play it. And all of a sudden I pop up on the screen. My kids are screaming. I'm screaming. Or no, my husband's like, oh my God. And I'm just staring at the TV dumbfounded. He's like, did you know? And I was like, no, had no idea.
It had to be so surreal. But I went back and watched it again literally about 15 minutes ago because I couldn't remember what I'd seen, exactly. And it was in the context of them recapping season 1.
Yeah.
With the Duggars and the fallout from that, and some of the family had the responses they'd gotten. And you're kind of lumped in with that season 1 ending where they're like, hey, this is just, there's more coming. Like, this is not. And so I wonder if the people who produced that were even aware of your Teen Mania connections.
They were not. So I actually know the producer, didn't know I knew the producer until after this kind of, like, I tangentially kind of knew them. They followed me, and I didn't know that at the time. And they had no idea I was connected to Teen Mania because honestly, it was something I put in a box and I hid it in the corner and I buried it deep and I just forgot about it.
Right.
And so I was just kind of making that video in the sense of like, yeah, the Duggars and IBLP, that's a cult. It's problematic, but like, let's not stop calling this shit out because this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, it goes so much deeper. And I'm so glad that they used that video because I was like, that's what I was talking about. And then I was watching the episode 1 of it, and I was like, oh shit.
Right.
So I was heavily involved in Teen Mania.
Well, and I couldn't help but be a little bit bummed though, like, because you're so charismatic. Even your one little video clip was like, that just stands out. Like, you are electric on screen. I'm like, they missed a huge opportunity to have somebody of your caliber, at least, at least featured a little bit more in that story. If they'd known about your connection, they might have went like, hey, you need to come do a segment or 2 with us and talk about your experiences there.
So I actually sent a video. I made a video about, I don't know if you're familiar with the Ramp Ministries.
God. Yeah.
Okay. So we can trauma bond about that too.
Oh no.
So the cult I was in literally like mimicked themselves over and after the Ramp. And so Lou Engle had like popped up on my news feed for some reason because God was out.
You need to be careful the names you drop.
I know, right? Visceral reaction. And so I made a video and I was like, okay, Shiny Happy People, season 3, please, can you do this for season 3? And I talked about like how I was involved in it. And so I sent it to her and they commented and said, we are very familiar with the Ramp. And so I was like, I'm hoping that they interview me because I'm like, I have so much I could talk about when it comes to that specifically. So yeah.
Well, let's do this. Let's preface this out by saying, first of all, I don't like it when people minimize and downplay the culty, like, and they go, well, we're not saying it's a cult, but it's cult-like. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, no, bullshit. Teen Mania was a cult. And even now, a lot of things I watched, I've even seen that word be replaced with a more tolerable euphemism. They talk about high demand religions. So it's a high, we'll call it what it is. But Teen Mania was very much a high demand religious organization, very parachurch, right? I mean, they weren't technically a church, but they're very parachurch. What was your first, because by the time you got involved, or maybe simultaneously, when you were involved with the cult in where we used to live, or where you used to live, one with which I'm very familiar, was that your introduction to Acquire the Fire and Teen Mania, or was that after?
It was kind of, Teen Mania and Acquire the Fire was like, ever since I stepped into religion as like a young teen, like a young adolescent and like young teen, because we would do the Acquire the Fire events. I have lost track how many times I went to it and signed the purity pledge and did that whole thing over and over and over again. Like talk about beating a dead horse. And then whenever I was in the cult, I went on a missions trip with Global Expeditions, which Global Expeditions is through Teen Mania. I went to Panama.
Oh gosh.
With them. But I went by myself. I didn't go with my cult. Like I went by myself. And which was crazy is like I had to get so much permission just from the cult leaders to be able to even do this missions trip. But I did it. I did Panama for a month with Global Expeditions. And a lot of the people on my trip were part of Honor Academy through Teen Mania.
Okay.
And I was like, that was the time where I was like, I'm on fire for God and we're different because we stand out and we sacrifice more and this and that. We're like, if the more that you can like humble yourself, like the closer you are to God.
Yeah.
So Honor Academy was like, oh, that's the next thing. Like that's the next thing I do. And I just ended up deciding against it. I don't really know what pushed me away from it. I think it was mostly like finances. Like I wasn't going to be able to raise the funds to be able to do it. But I was head over heels ready to jump into Honor Academy and go through the boot camp and
yikes,
be abused.
The abuse. Well, and again, if you haven't watched if you're listening and you have any experience with this, then you immediately go, oh God, you know, like we did. I went to a ton of Acquire the Fire events, starting all the way back in like, late 90s. When I was living in Maryland and youth pastoring in Maryland, we took kids every year to Baltimore because they only would. So Acquire the Fire is a stadium event. They only go to major cities. They only go to 10,000 plus seat arenas. They always bring in as many of the big name Christian bands as they can. So you might go see a Third Day or a David Crowder or a whoever, maybe even like DC Talk or something. So they were no slouches. They got top notch, talent. They got really good motivational speakers. And all of that was a gateway to get you to fill out a card so that they could then harass you for the next, eternity about going on global expeditions, joining the Honor Academy. And the Honor Academy was also then the feeder because everybody running Acquire the Fire were interns from Honor Academy who were not only unpaid, they actually paid for the privilege of being interns, right?
Yeah. And to be part of one of your requirements for being in Honor Academy was to go on a global expeditions trip, which you had to fundraise for. So not only are you paying to be at the Honor Academy, you're also fundraising and paying to go on a global expeditions trip while simultaneously working the Acquire a Fire events for free. And taking phone calls and working like the Global Expeditions hotlines and like convincing other kids to sign up for a trip. And I mean, child labor out my ass.
Unbelievable, right? Yeah, that was so episode 2, I think, delves pretty deeply into Honor Academy and talks about how they assigned jobs to people and how people were like, man, I came out, I signed up to do this and I'm on fire for God. I want to go change the world and I'm a telemarketer.
Yeah.
15 hours a day trying to talk people. He's like, one guy talks about, I was calling Jewish synagogues, asking them to send their youth to Acquire. He's like, why would I send you're Jewish. He's like, well, I just had to make my phone call.
Yeah.
But it was such a weird disconnect. So I was too old by the time, I was already in my late 20s, early 30s. So I wouldn't have been, Honor Academy material anyway. But that's where it started. I was telling these guys, I watched episode 1 and I was like, okay, I mean, there's some off stuff there. It gets dark in episode 2 and 3. That's when it goes behind the scenes and starts to show you like, this is how all the stuff went real bad.
Yeah. And I know that it's going to do that if I'm being honest to all the listeners. I only watched episode 1 to this point because it triggered me so bad. And you're saying like the one was like, oh, okay, this is Choir
I'm telling you, I'm not saying don't watch it. I'm saying if you were triggered by episode 1, you may want to have somebody with you.
And my husband and I both watched it together.
Yeah.
And he might have went to a Choir the Fire event at one point, but like not. I'm from. Well, because you didn't grow up in Texas, right?
No, I grew up in California.
So Choir the Fire, Arlington or Fort Worth or, like we're right there. So
Houston, or everywhere or
Yeah. So we really had them all around us within just a day's trip, less than a day, to get there. And
we went to the one in Dallas. It was right by the Cotton Bowl.
Yes. Yep.
Multiple times.
Yes.
I mean, it was, at least half a dozen times that I took youth groups there.
Yeah.
And I will say this, from the outside looking in, if you stayed on the periphery of this, I think it was very possible to go and have a mostly positive experience.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it just like a gathering, like a big event?
Yeah, it was two or 3 days, right?
Inspiring talks and stuff.
Yeah, usually I want to say it was like 2 days because it'd be like Saturday or Friday night and then Saturday, maybe Sunday morning. So like, 2, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And if you were just going for Choir the Fire, beautiful, fun. Everyone's like, this is awesome. But it's like the drug they give you so that you come back for more. So like, I want to get you high on this. I want you to get so fired up for Jesus so that you're like, oh, I have to go on a global expeditions trip. And I'm telling you, I paid so much money to go on that global expeditions trip. I know it didn't cost them near that.
No.
I paid just as much, if not maybe less, for a study abroad trip to New Zealand and Australia, which I got to travel both countries. So like, wow, give me a break.
Yeah.
Dude.
So at these events, would they like talk up the global trips?
Oh,
so it wasn't just like, here's a message about Jesus. Anybody want to get baptized? But they were like, come and continue this journey with us, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, they'd have full blown trailers.
Oh, wow.
And they would make it look so just appealing. And all these kids were like, you're already on fire for God. And then they're shaping it as like, God is calling you to the nations. So then you have this like pull on your heartstring. Like I swore I was going to be a missionary for years.
Me too.
See, everybody.
Me too. I did.
Was it connected to YWAM or was it its own thing?
No,
YWAM was tame compared to these guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Although someone should do a deep dive on YWAM.
We should. I actually have a friend that did YWAM in Australia.
I said what I said very, very flippantly because I don't really have much experience with YWAM, but I would imagine any organization whose primary focus is teenagers, I think is just set up to be abusive. I just don't know. It's problematic in the assets. So you got kids who are vulnerable. You got kids who are impressionable. The Ron Luce's genius, if there was any, was in his adoption very early on of multimedia. So he was very slick. The production was slick. The videos were, now some of them was corny as hell. I've watched a few now and I'm like, eh. But the 2.5 day or whatever, however long that Acquire the Fire event was essentially that long of an infomercial for.
Gotcha.
Because you have a concert, Skillet would come out and have a pyrotechnic show, and there'd be guys ziplining from the ceiling, and there'd be all kinds of crazy shit. Hang on, we're going to settle things down. Watch this 20-minute video about Honor Academy. And while that's happening, we're passing out these little info cards. Just fill them out so we can keep in touch with you. And so they're gathering all your information, and then they do another thing, and then Ron will come out and inspire everybody, and then, right?
Yeah. And then the kids at Honor Academy will be assigned a job. And then those who are assigned to make the phone calls, they take those info cards and then they're calling these students if they marked off, or these attendees, if they marked off that they were interested, and they'd be like, oh, well, what country would you want to go to? Or, oh, like pray about it. And like, oh, this testimony and this testimony from this country. And so they do all the emotional tactics to pull at your heartstrings to get you to want to sign up and go on a trip and all that. I kind of see it as like, you guys know the emergent church movement.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of see Acquire the Fire like right before the emergent church movement started to take off. It was like Acquire the Fire was just right before.
Yeah. And I almost feel like on some levels, the emergent church was a beginning of a reaction to that.
Yes.
Was like, hey, this needs to be a response to this, because what what you'll see if you watch when you watch episode 2 and 3 is you'll see that what starts as a fairly benign gathering of youth and stuff, but it becomes like gradually very, very nationalistic, very, very militaristic. When you go to Honor Academy, there's a military vibe. You're being called to battle. There's a war that's waging. You're enlisting in God's army. And then they did all these boot camp things that later on turned out were very dangerous.
Insane boot camp things.
Yeah, like lots of kids hurt, lots of kids sent to hospitals.
A lot of them dehydrated.
Yeah. Tons of shame, a huge shame culture. Obviously purity culture there's a woman interviewed on the show, and I can't remember if it was 2 or 3, but it doesn't matter. But she had been kicked out of the Honor Academy because she kissed a boy.
Oh, yeah.
And then she was able to, she was so, and she was like, you could tell, she's wearing it all over her face. She was a worship leader. I mean, she was on stage every night. She was one of the more prominent people involved. They threw her out unceremoniously. And then
for a kiss.
She came back a year later. She's like, I was able to come back. And you could just even tell just the look on her face. She's like, I can't believe I even wanted to go back. But they had screwed my brain so much that I wanted desperately to go back. And then when she went back, they turned her experience into a cautionary tale.
Like a music video.
Made her perform in a video where she is assaulted.
What?
Yeah. That's the trigger warning, Laci.
And that she deserved to be assaulted, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Because she was like a Jezebel or whatever.
She's having to basically act out like these 3 guys walking into her room and dragging her out of her room. And they played this at these events, and I'm like,
oh my God. I know I'm like shocked and also somewhat smiling, but I'm smiling because I'm uncomfortable.
It's awful. It's awful.
No. I'm not shocked, but I'm so far removed from all of it now. Cause it's been about, was it 2025? So 5 years since I've really been in a church. So I'm so far removed from it. My husband is so far removed from it. It just is like, we're still here. And we still have pastors there was like one pastor made a comment in his sermon. It was like, if I'm on the jury of a man who is accused of rape and I find out the woman was wearing booty shorts, I'm going to let him walk free.
Gross. Because
boys will be boys. And I'm like, what the hell?
Well, they got a book that condones most of that. So I don't know. I'm not sure why. I'm not that shocked anymore. The Bible is a scary piece of literature at times. In the wrong hands, it's that's either here or there.
We are where we are at.
We are where we are. Well, here's the other thing. Macy, did you know that James Dobson was involved?
Oh, with Acquire the Fire?
I didn't know.
Didn't know that, but like not shocked because there was such a stark, swift change. I felt like from like the beginning of Acquire the Fire to it turning into militaristic. Yeah.
That was the change, though.
See, doesn't shock me.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There was a group called the Arlington Group that came in and co-opted Teen Mania as part of their overall sort of Christian nationalist agenda. And that's when Ron Luce goes from Acquire the Fire to Battle Cry. And those Battle Cry events become... Right? You forgot about Battle Cry.
No, I didn't until the very last, because he starts the episode. He ends the episode with, let me hear your Battle Cry. And
but the focus shifts completely, and then it becomes what had been hinted at, earlier, now becomes its primary focus is militarizing these young people, taking a bunch of sometimes legitimately disaffected youth and giving them an enemy, giving them a cause, giving them a place where they, it's weaponizing your need to belong. But I didn't realize that James Dobson was, and hell, George W. Bush was like on the board of some. I mean, he's like endorsed Teen Mania. Like these guys are great, but they're so totally aligned with the religious right that it's not funny. Again, I was blissfully unaware of most of this.
They like you that way. They
do. They really do. They like you when you're cute.
Because
and
if you're fully aware, then are you really going to buy into all their bullshit? Most likely not. They got to chip
Well, no, I mean, they need willing people who are happy to stay asleep.
I want to see a timeline of all of this
too.
From Acquire the Fire and to the Emergent Church to also like the ramp. When did the ramp get started? Because that was the ramp's whole mission. Like you're a part of God's army and you wear the camo pants and
let's find out. I have Google.
What is the timeline of all of these? Because it's like they all kind of like fed off of each other, which all does go back to
they were in Alabama.
Oh yeah.
Where was that big mega church in Alabama? Gosh, it got so Church of the Highlands, was that Alabama?
I don't know.
There was a massive. I was part of a church for years that chased mega churches. Like, you know what I mean? As soon as one would like, they're the new one. We're going to start. And what we would do is we would pattern ourselves.
Yes.
Because why wouldn't you find out what's working for them and then adopt those? So I think it might've been Alabama. But anyway, Ramp was based out of Hamilton.
Yes. Hamilton.
I'm looking for the year. I don't know. The Ramp Church.
Because it was with, what is her name? I just went blank on it. Karen Wheaton.
So Karen Wheaton.
Birmingham, Church of the Highlands. It's in Birmingham.
Yeah, it was just, okay. Say something stick in your brain.
That's why it sounds familiar. Lola has Church of the Highlands on her possibly to cover list, I think is.
Yeah. Okay.
So the ramp was an actual church ministry in a specific church, and then it became something that was wider. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So they started and they're still located in Hamilton, Alabama. And they have this, well, it's probably a lot bigger now, but they would hold in this building, which was like their church. It wasn't like a church where they would hold Sunday services, but they would have these like special events throughout the year that were like 3 or 4 days. They would call them the ramp. Like each one, like winter ramp or summer ramp or spring break ramp. And they would go and it would be like, they would start the worship, but the worship would last like 3 or 4 hours. You had Rick Pino. Did you know who Rick Pino is? Dude, he's selling like online courses on Instagram now. I'm like, what the hell happened to him? I literally,
I hate the internet.
I was like, what's going on? But I remember he would be up there and we'd be worshiping for like 3 or 4 hours and he'd be telling us to take our socks off and our shoes off and we'd be throwing shoes everywhere and be jumping around. We're sweating and it got insane. And then they had a group called The Chosen, which would go up on the stage and they would perform these skits that were very emotionally driven. And they'd even have Jesus on the cross all bloody and that we would like copy them and we would do their skits. And there was one where I was a girl who like cut herself in this skit. And it was all basically like, those are of the world. You need Jesus. Jesus will pull you away from all of that because Jesus is just sunshine and rainbows. And then they would just like really push the like, you're in God's army. You're set to be a part. You need to give God 110%. You're going to go back to your schools and be the change. And they pushed a lot of like, they were really big with Lou Engle. So they would push the whole prayer and fasting and the whole life tape over the mouth, praying at abortion clinics, that whole thing.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All this is very triggering.
I know.
Yeah. It's such a weird deal. The one thing they didn't bring up too because the only other part of Teen Mania that I was ever a part of was summer camp. That doesn't come up in the documentary at all.
I forgot they did summer camp.
Yeah. So Extreme Camps was in Tyler, Texas, pretty close to the Honor Academy headquarters and everything, right? So all staffed by interns. We went at least 4 or 5 years. I took youth groups there. One of the reasons we knew things were not going well at Teen Mania was by 2014. I think I took my last group of campers in 2014. That camp had just fallen apart.
Yeah,
there's no maintenance being done. You got kids stacked up in like old Marine, like Kwanzaa huts.
Yeah.
With no air conditioning. It's all like swamp coolers and like the bathrooms are, broke down and overloaded. And anyway, several kids got sick when I was on our last trip because everything was broken. But
was it not at the Tyler Academy or at the like their main campus in Tyler?
I think it was, but I mean, it was like I remember at some point, like one of my assistant youth pastor lost her phone
Yeah.
And she had an iPhone, and she was like, well, I'll just do the Find My iPhone thing. And it was in some dude's dorm at the Honor Academy.
Yeah. Because
So we're like, we're going to go get your damn phone. So we went and tracked him down. So it was right next door.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm pretty sure how they worked it was global expeditions would show up and you would do your training for like 4 or 5 days or so at the campus in Tyler, Texas. And then you would like all the mission trips would leave at one time. So like everybody who's going to Thailand, who's going to Haiti, who's going to Japan or wherever, they all leave at the same time. And then while they're gone on their trip, they do their extreme camps.
Yeah. Okay.
And the extreme camps would leave, and then the mission trips would come back. They'd do their like debrief, send everybody home, get the next group of missions trip people coming in.
Yeah.
And do the whole thing again. And so
yeah, it was weird. It was a weird camp because it was true to Ron Luce's personality. It was all very competitive. So as soon as you got there, they divided all the campers into different groups and gave them country names. And so then we had to like wave flags around. Then we went to battle with each other over silly extreme sports, like, playing soccer with a giant soccer ball. And, but there were ropes courses, and there was all kinds of stuff to do it was all very, very physical, all very outdoorsy, but all very competitive. And I went with the guy, one of my like just parent volunteer guys, who lost his mind. We were going to win camp.
yeah, he was so competitive.
We won it 3 years in a row.
He's like, I still have a trophy to show you.
We went back then the first year after we won it, and our name is on the top of last year's camp winners, these guys.
Good job.
And I was like, I hadn't gone that year, but I went the next year because I was the new youth pastor, and I'm like, I take kids to youth church camps. That's what I do. So and this guy went with me. He's still a good friend of mine, but he's dead, like serious. Look at me, and he's going, "We're going to win it. Do not cost me this victory. We will win this again this year." I'm like, I don't care who I have to brow. And it was weird stuff. Like, you get points for like scripture memorization. And so at any point you could walk up to one of the staff intern and recite a memory verse, and they'd write your points down. And then it was just about to the point of like grown men pushing kids down, to get the last goal to win the game so we could win camp. And I'm like, yeah, this all seems very Christ-like. But the other reason we kind of knew things were going weird was like the first year we went, it was an Acquire the Fire type feel, right? High energy. They brought bands in that were well known. They brought in, and I couldn't tell you who now because I think I've buried most of those names, but all names that were very well recognizable. And then like the last year we went, I didn't recognize anyone they brought in. It was like some Christian rapper that they found on the street somewhere. And, so I'm like, the next year when they announced they weren't doing summer camp that year because they were reorganizing, they were restructuring, they were filing for bankruptcy is what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because they'd mismanaged it so badly.
Did they say exactly like in the documentary, like why they went under? Was it like just lack of attendees or just literally?
I'll tell you, according to, about 2012, I think it was the timeline that this person, and she's prominently featured in the documentary, and I can't remember her name.
She worked for the White House or something, right?
No, this is somebody who was an alum of Teen Mania, who had gotten kicked out.
Was she the blonde girl, curly hair?
No, she was dark-haired. Her name was, gosh darn it, I wrote it down. Macy, something like that. But she started a blog.
That's right.
And then they cut to her at one point, and she's like, I never thought that this blog would be the downfall of Teen Mania, but I kind of did that.
I kind of did that.
Because she just sort of, it was not her intention. She started writing, she wrote a blog or two, she opened it up to people to start, and she's like, I did not realize that how many other people had these awful experiences. She'd been thrown out too. And so people started writing these, coming back and telling their stories on this blog. And what happened was, as a result, there were lots of parents paying attention who were like, well, I was going to send my kid to Honor Academy. Sure as hell not happening now, because of the stories that were coming out about abuse and neglect and overworking and the lack of attention. Like, these guys they're sending teenage girls to Thailand and letting them minister in the red light district with no supervision.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That seems like a fantastic idea.
So crazy story. I have a friend, I don't know. I want to say they most likely went through global expeditions. I could be wrong though. I don't know exactly, but they went on a mission trip to Thailand and they had a free day and like trigger warning, this is like very traumatic. But she went to get a massage, like her and her sister and a couple friends went to go get a massage. And, when they came in, the guy like handed her a drink and said, drink this and then like lay down, you'll get your massage. All she remembers is drinking it and then waking up naked on the table.
Oh my God.
Doesn't remember. And she was such a like sweet, naive person, like so young. She's telling us the story and she's like laughing about it because she's like not realizing the depth of like what possibly happened. And she said she walked out and was like, did you guys drink that juice? And they were like, no, we did not drink any juice. And so then she's telling us about it. And this is like 2 years later. And we're all looking at her like, are you okay? Like, did something happen? And I think that's the moment it kind of like washed over her of like, oh shit,
wow.
Like maybe I was raped. Maybe I was molested. Like she had no idea. And you wouldn't know when you're growing up in like these staunch Christian Republican type environments because you're taught to not think about anything sexual. And then if you do, or if something happens to you, it's your fault. And so she just buried it for years. And who knows if something actually did happen to her? I'm assuming. I mean, like if it
I don't know. Most people don't roofie for fun, for nothing. I mean, there's that's it's nuts.
And that was in Thailand.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's from what I could tell from the documentary, that started a groundswell of like people just, okay, well, I was on the fence about this. And a lot of parents were on the fence about it. Like this sounded like just to send their kids to honor academy, you get to pay to go to college, quote unquote, for a year. And then the kids were just so fired up, they could get their parents to relent. But then anybody who was on the fence and then started hearing some of these stories that would come out were like, well, off the fence now. And so I think the beginning of the end was, that like they're going into full blown panic mode because they can't get enough people to come. And this is what's footing the bill for everything is these honor academy, students who come and pay a lot of money to go there and go on the missions and fundraise and do all this stuff. And then also make the mountains of phone calls. Yeah.
Be the workhorse because they were also the ones who set up and tore down and were the functioning brain basically behind every Acquire the Fire event. So you lose them, you've lost your foundation pretty much.
Yeah. We'd always heard too that there were allegations, that there was quite a bit of financial mismanagement too. I think that it probably just stems from the fact that for so long there was just so much money coming in.
Yeah.
Like they probably just, they probably all fed well from that particular cash cow. But it couldn't withstand that scrutiny. And so there was I wish I could remember her name. I'd have to watch. I should have written it down, but there was a little bit of a hint of satisfaction in I didn't think I was going to do that. But I kind of did that. I guess I was the one that brought the whole thing down. So what they had done too was then they went out in the midst of her blog. I should say their blog. I think she goes by their, so they, them. So in the midst of their blog, sorry if I misgendered you. I apologize. I'm trying. Anyway, they'd written this blog and then Team Mania's response was to go basically hire, that's where I think you were thinking, Bethany, they hired a consultant. And she had been working in the White House, had been working in DC and had all these sort of lobbyist sensibilities. And she came fully expecting to just exonerate Teen Mania of all of these false accusations and fix everything. And then in the end, she was like, nope, pretty much this is all true. So, and she was very apologetic at the end. She was like, I helped prop that thing up for longer than it should have stayed around. And it was interesting to see. Oh, here's the other interesting thing. One of the other guys that was prominently featured, even in the first episode, was Ray Boltz' son.
Oh, yeah.
And it took me a little while to remember Ray Boltz.
Yeah, totally.
So John probably doesn't remember because he was not. So Ray Boltz was a very, 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 very well-known Christian singer, but
yes,
more adult. Like it wasn't like John and I were listening to Christian metal. Like we were,
His most famous one was like Thank you for giving to the Lord. Do you know that song?
We played that every time we did offering.
I was alive. I was saved. Okay, never mind. Well,
Or I pledge allegiance to the Lamb. Remember that one?
It was definitely like a little bit on the older generation.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
more adult contemporary versus, yeah.
Yes.
But go ahead. You had something.
No, I just remember you said that, and I was like, oh yeah, I had forgot.
There are names that go, oh yeah. So Ray Boltz is, again, a very, very, very well known, gets very involved with Teen Mania with Ron Luce. In fact, I think he wrote I Pledge Allegiance to the Lamb partly as a thing for them.
Wasn't it his kid that like almost died?
Was it his? Yeah.
Yeah.
He got like was it appendicitis?
Yeah, then
Yeah.
went
He get his
septic.
appendix out, and then it went septic. Yeah.
Yeah, they had to send him home, but Ray Boltz's story is interesting because then later in life, Ray Boltz comes out as gay, and then the rest of the story because there's no hate like Christian love. He came to his family. It was a really beautiful. It was told beautifully because his family's response was exactly what you would hope.
Yeah.
Like even his wife, who he divorced, was like, duh, I knew you were gay for 10 years. Like, go be happy, be you. But he was so desperately afraid of losing his kids and his grandkids and all of this life he'd built that he stayed closeted for all those years. So at the end of it all, there is this picture of them and it's all of them together.
Yes.
And they're like, yeah, and my dad comes and my dad's husband comes and my mom comes and we all the stuff he was desperately afraid of losing. He didn't lose any of that.
Right.
But the entirety of the church almost gave him the big finger.
It reminds me of Jennifer Knapp.
Yeah.
Like her whole situation too. It's like copy paste basically. And it's sad when I said, oh my God, that's so sad. It's just sad to me that the wife's like, I knew you were gay this whole time.
Yeah.
But because of our religion, we just stuck with it,
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you gypped both of you. You gypped both yourself.
Both of you. Yeah.
So it's, do you know Matthew Paul Turner?
I do. We've had him on the show.
I love him so much. I actually had his books. My mother-in-law and me have had his books for years. And
Is he the one that wrote My Gunkle and Me?
No.
I'm mixing him up with somebody else. Matthew, we have had Matthew Paul Turner on though too, haven't we, John?
He's the one who wrote all the Christian, When I Pray for You. And
okay, yeah.
I can't think of. I literally have every single one of his books. But he came out as like him and his wife divorced in 2020. He came out as gay, and like that's all he's been is a Christian author. And so it was like his whole journey during that. But I'd had his books prior to this. So then he comes out in the middle of like the beginning of my deconstruction. And so we've followed each other on social media for a while now. And it's just been so beautiful to watch that and see, but it's just like, this story it's a repetitive. It happens in so many circles within Christianity. It's so sad.
Yeah. Like the thing is, it doesn't just, it extends to every violation of a so-called Christian ethic because it happened to Amy Grant. Because she had the temerity to get divorced. Mm-hmm. It happened to Sandy Patty, who had the temerity to get divorced. That was their two cardinal sins, was they got divorced, and they were just about done in the Christian. Sandy Patty was done. Like she didn't survive that. I mean, physically, her career did not survive that. Amy Grant went on to have a very good secular career and did her thing, and which made them hate her even more. Amy Grant came to San Angelo last year. And so they did this Facebook ad. Hey, buy your tickets, come see. The comments. Why would I want that? Blah, blah, blah. Like what? I'm not paying to see some woman who cheated on her husband. And it was like, get over it. This was like 20 years ago and you're still pissed about it?
Yeah. I'm not shocked because, what was it? I don't know the name of the school now, but the middle school in town.
Mm-hmm. The one that changed their name that is now going to change it back?
Change it back? The comments on that Facebook post, I was like, this is why I don't live there. It's all a bunch of race.
So there was a school, and there's lots of them, but it's a Robert E. Lee, right?
Yeah, Robert E. Lee. Yep.
Well, there's one in Midland too. Oh, they just changed it back to Robert E. Lee.
In Midland?
Uh-huh. And now they're probably going to change the one in San Angelo back as well. Because, It's not hate, it's heritage. Red.
Like, oh wait, we're allowed to be racist.
That's
now.
right.
Okay.
It's okay now. You have a champion in the Oval Office who's like, who agrees with us and thinks that Robert Lee was a great guy. Well, the other person that figured prominently, and I wanted to mention, and I still would like to get him on the podcast too, but was Joshua Harris.
Yeah,
because he was a big part of the culture. Was that book of his, I Kissed Dating Goodbye, was the textbook for purity culture within teen mania and probably most of evangelical Christianity. Yeah. And he has since like divorced himself entirely. I'm so sorry I wrote that book.
Yeah. I felt really bad for him because he came out, he wrote there, he's disavowed all of that.
Yeah.
And then he came out, this was probably 2020, 2021. He felt really bad and he ended up making a course and trying to sell it online and telling people. Yeah. telling people but if you were affected by I Kissed Dating Goodbye, here's promo code, you get the whole thing for free. But people were really just got the ick from it.
I'm sorry, dude. The optics are bad.
He got torn to shit online. And it was not even 24 hours. He's took the whole thing down. He's okay, my bad.
Bad idea.
He owned it. I was okay, not my place. I'm just going to step out. And everyone's yeah, walk away.
Hey, I wrote this book that traumatized a bunch of people, but here's a course you could buy to get over the trauma I inflicted.
It was so
It's only $99 and it'll help you. It'll be cheaper than a therapist. Don't worry. I got you.
But I was he listened. He totally listened to everybody's.
Yeah, I think he's probably a really nice guy.
I'm sure. He's just bad. We all make bad choices.
Come on, that's ill-advised.
And it popped up, and I was this ain't gonna go good. I was trying, it did not go good.
Wow. Well, if they do a series on Ramp, that'd be interesting. You need to be involved with that.
I really hope, because I'm that one's the one. Oh, I could talk to you left, right, and center about that one. And that's kind of who the girl who you said who was she had a little smile of I didn't mean to pull him down, but
I don't know, but I kind of did that thing. You want to be that person, don't you?
No, I kind of am in a way. And I even my husband, I'll still talk about it to this day. And he's just you're really happy you did that. I'm yes, I am. So I left and I was peace out, I'm gone. And everyone was shocked and everyone's hurt and mad or whatever. Now, it wasn't a direct hit to the ministry, but the worship leader, who was the only worship leader we had because it was such a small ministry, this whole situation happens and he's wanting to leave super bad. And I connected with him after he left and he just kept telling himself, if Laci can leave, I can leave. If Laci can leave, I can leave. And he just told himself that over and over again. And then he finally left. And because he was the worship leader, after that, the whole thing crumbled. So I was maybe not me directly, but I encouraged it.
You know what? Take your feathers where you can get them, man. Right? Put that thing right in your cap. And
yeah,
some of these things just need to be torn down brick by brick. I have no problem with that.
I know.
I understand. That that's painful for some folks. But man, if what you do is profit off other people's misery, I'm gonna have a hard time finding sympathy when you maybe have to go work for an honest living somewhere and do something else.
Yeah,
Laci, I'm curious about how you got there. Were you raised Christian? Were you always a little bit more critical of leadership or pushing against the envelope, or did it come out later?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. So my parents aren't religious at all. My dad growing up would be yeah, I believe there's a God, but it wasn't ever really a thing where we would go to church regularly. We did when I was real little, but we went to a Baptist church, and after the secretary or the pastor cheated on his wife with the secretary and they ran off together, we got a new pastor and a new secretary. After that second pastor cheated on his wife with the new secretary and they ran off together, my dad said, how can I take advice from a man who can't keep his dick in his pants?
Wow.
Valid reason, Dad. Fair. So after that, we never went back to church.
Okay.
He was just this is stupid. It's what am I wasting my Sundays for? So we stopped going to church after that. But as Nate can, attest, it's so religious down there. It's everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere. And so everybody I'm growing up with is going to church. And so it's so natural for them to be like, hey, you want to go to youth group with me?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the main youth groups, you actually know one of the boys. That was like one of my first boyfriends too. I talked to him the other day.
Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah. I prayed to God so much. We had this conversation the other day on a live. I prayed to God so much that I would marry that boy.
Okay, we got to talk offline. So I don't want to drop names, but I need to know more. Okay.
So, I went to youth group. And then as I was in youth group would go to Acquire the Fire and go to these, conferences and things like that. And as I got older and I was like getting kind of, becoming more aware of like the lack of emotional needs that my parents weren't meeting my emotional needs. And so Jesus was here and he was here to fill my emotional needs. And so I just threw myself deeper and deeper and deeper into it until I found that one ministry. I don't name drop them because they're not around anymore and because I don't want to be sued just in case. And so I just don't name drop it. It was like a mom and pop ministry. And then after that, it was very, very problematic because I had to sign a covenant. I wasn't able to date and there was so many rules. That's a whole long story. But I met my husband in Dallas because I was working there for a summer. Met him. His family helped me see that, like, girl, you're in a cult and you need to get the hell out of here. So they helped me kind of escape. But I still maintained, like, within Christian circles and atmospheres because that's what was comfortable to me. And then it wasn't until 2020 when I started to actually deconstruct. That was when I found out about Trump's sexual assault allegations. I didn't know about them before. I had been like head in the sand. And I was a new mom. And so I was just distracted on everything. So the moment I found out about him, my whole world imploded because it was like, wait, everyone's saying this is God's man. But it's not one sexual assault allegation. Like, it's a lot. And some of them are with minors. How is this God's man? This goes against all the things I was taught as a Christian. And so that was just the beginning of my implosion of Christianity. And then here we are 5 years later and I speak out against it.
Now you're just full-blown. Now you went from questioner to full-blown heretic. You've done the... You did. See, they told me when I started to deconstruct that I was on a slippery slope. And I said, wet it down. Let's slip and slide down to some bitch. I don't care.
Yeah. They said you're on a slippery slope. And then I guess, went and got the fucking dish soap. And I got the olive oil. I got the Crisco. Like, let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes. So there's so many things we could talk about. I don't want to miss a chance, though, to talk about your podcast because I think it's really awesome. I love it.
So I make sure I want to give you a chance to talk about Deadly Faith because when you talked about it, we talked about it in Nashville. It hadn't started yet. You were just thinking about it, right? And I remember saying, "Oh, this is genius." I think you were maybe you'd recorded maybe an episode or two, but you hadn't launched it yet. This would have been.
Oh, okay. So I guess Nashville was 2 years ago because we just passed our 2-year anniversary.
Okay, yeah. So it must be 2 years. Yeah.
It's just about to go live. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
2-year podcast. We're so proud. We just hit just over 100,000 downloads in our 2 years. So we're very proud of that. So yeah, it's called Deadly Faith. We cover religious true crimes. And what's super fun is my friend Lola, my best friend Lola and I, we co-host it. So how we do these episodes is I'll research a case and then I present it to her and you get to kind of hear her like live, honest, raw reaction. Because 99% of the time, she doesn't know the case I'm presenting and I don't know the case she's presenting. So we get to hear this stuff like in real time, but we both have the background of deconstructing and coming from, like, she grew up in Church of Christ. So she has that religious background. I grew up, Baptist, non-denominational, all that kind of stuff. But we both kind of went through that. We've deconstructed. We're both full-blown heretics now. And so we talk about, did religion play a part in this crime? Like, this pastor murdered one of his congregants. Did religion play a part in that? Or was he like a wolf in sheep's clothing? Was there a religious belief that was so toxic, it played a part in brainwashing? We cover cults and like how cults operate and the brainwashing and all of that goes into it. We've even done our first October, we covered serial killers, and we cover well-known serial killers that some didn't realize there is a religious aspect to the case. For example, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about how Jeffrey Dahmer came to Jesus after he went to prison. No, bitch. He grew up in the church. That motherfucker grew up in the church. He knew what he was doing. And so he goes to jail and he's just like, oh, forgive me, Lord. And I'm like, guys, he's playing you like a fiddle. And it's worked because everybody uses Jeffrey Dahmer as like, the Lord has forgiven him. Then I don't want to be in heaven. The man ate people. That was his Saturday night. Are you
kidding? Is that the title of the episode? The man ate people. And all he has to do is say, oh, Lord, I'm sorry. And he gets a free pass on that shit. Mm-hmm. This is the thing that drives atheists crazy, by the way. Mm-hmm. Like that whole, and don't get me wrong, that was like a selling point for me for years with my faith. Was like, whoa, like anyone can get in. And then there were my atheist friends going, exactly, that's a bullshit program. Why do they get to get in? But the good person who lived the good life, who never said the right words and uttered the right prayers, they get kicked down into the pit.
Yep.
But Jeffrey Dahmer's up in heaven hanging out with God because he said sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
Sorry about that. I ate people.
Yeah.
My bad.
My bad.
It's horrific.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think people realize, just how many of these nasty people in history who have done horrific things were all religious, or at least pandered to religious stuff.
Yeah.
Hitler was.
Mm-hmm.
Was he really a Christian? I don't know. But he signed his first peace treaty, or signed his first. God damn it. His first treaty with the Vatican.
Yeah. Wait, it's so weird because there's so much conflicting research when it comes to Hitler on like, was he a Christian? Was he a Catholic Christian? Or like, did he use that as a way to further his agenda? And I'm like, I'm going to lean in towards the latter.
Yeah, I am too. I would say the same thing about Trump.
I was just about to say, because you've seen that in our White House.
That guy's he's no more Christian than Adolf Hitler. Yeah, there I said it. He's like Adolf Hitler. But what they both did though was expose. Hitler could not have done what he did without a willing populace.
Yep.
And that willing populace was fed a steady diet of bullshit from Martin Luther on about how the Jews were the problem all along.
Yep.
Well, now we have brown people and queer folks as the targets, and we're following the same pattern.
Yeah. Literally, Hitler's saying was make Germany great again.
Literally. And then on the belt buckles the SS wore, it said in German, God with us. Mm-hmm. God mit us. However went.
And God's up there. I didn't say that.
I never said that, you sons of bitches. But so yeah, I that's why I love your podcast. I love the concept of it, because there is a weird intersection. And regardless of what I'm not going to do the no true Scotsman thing. Like, well, they weren't real Christians. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If they used, Christian, imagery and ideology to shame and motivate and do the things that they do, then it's part and parcel of the same thing. You need to cover the story from our hometown about my friend who murdered his wife.
What?
You haven't talked about that one?
Boy, we gotta talk after this, because
they did a really bad true crime story on one of those like A&E offshoot crime shows about it.
Are you talking about the OBGYN?
Oh, no. That's even worse. That's horrible. I actually am decent friends with one of his victims.
Hold on.
The OBGYN okay, we can talk offline.
We gotta talk offline.
I'll give you a couple of hints, but
I've been asked multiple times, like, are you afraid you're going to run out of content?
Oh, no, sadly, no.
One day I hope we do, but I'm not going to hold my breath, because we started Christianity by taking away the land of indigenous people and murdering them, and it hasn't stopped since. So it's just, there's so much, and we try to keep it like not lighthearted. Some of the episodes are they're just like, we did 9/11, and that one, there wasn't a laugh in the whole thing because it was just really, really bleak. But a lot of the times we crack jokes and off the wall and we cuss, and it's like you're sitting down with your two best friends talking about a true crime case. So
yeah. And before we forget to mention, available wherever podcasts are streamed, I'm sure. So, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. If you're into true crime and you're into Jesus,
or you're not,
give it a listen. I think it's well worth your time. Gosh, Laci, thank you for staying up late and hanging out with us and taking the time.
I'll come back anytime.
Yeah, let's do a true crime episode. We'll do one on cross promotion. This is not Deadly Faith.
Yeah. But me and you need to learn how to tone it down, because I think I've heard like 10 words.
I know. I was afraid that would happen. Sorry, guys.
We're the extroverts, y'all are the introverts.
I apologize. I haven't been able to talk in 2 years, Laci. It's just too damn long.
I know, it's crazy.
I miss you. All right. Well, are you writing a book yet?
I did write a book.
You did write a book. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought so.
It's called Leaving the Sanctuary. It's a real simple read. It literally goes through my whole story, and I offer some advice along the way, like what helped me during my deconstruction, like setting boundaries and like finding my true self and deconstructing and like kind of like breaking the brainwashing and like what I did to help that. And I kind of offer advice throughout it, and it's cool. It's a good little quick read. But yeah, Leaving the Sanctuary.
Well, we'll link to that. We'll link to your and on top of all that, you TikTok like crazy and have Instagram reels, and so she's a Renaissance woman. She does it all. So
thanks.
We'll link to all that stuff and make sure people can find you on all the socials. Before they take TikTok away again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. We'll find something else. It's all good. We're going to sign off for now. Again, thank you.
Thank you for listening to This Is Not Church. Be sure to rate and review the podcast on your platform of choice. If you would like to partner with us, visit patreon.com/thisisnotchurch, where you will receive exclusive content such as early access to episodes, videos of upcoming episodes, and live Q&A sessions. Be sure to check out our Facebook group or follow us on Twitter and Instagram. All the links are in the show notes. We'll be back soon with another episode.